Welcome to NFL Live. Hey, you picked a great day to tune in today. We hope you tune in every day, but we've got a loaded show for you. First up, we're talking top edge rushers in this draft class. Are their flaws fixable? Red flags that teams should avoid. Our GM takes us behind the curtain in draft rooms, what they're actually talking about. Plus, Patrick Mahomes is back. Look at him. He's throwing. He looks really good. Does this mean a Week 1 return is on the horizon for the three-time Super Bowl champ? Jeremy Fowler with us. The latest on the timeline, what it means for the Chiefs. And the Seahawks just broke the bank for their star wideout. Well-deserved. Are more moves coming in Seattle? Adam Schefter joining to tell us what could be the next domino to fall. So glad that you are with us here. As I said, we got J-Mac, we got Mike T, we got Adam Schefter. Jeremy Fowler is joining us in just a little bit. And you guys, we got a lot to get to, so let's roll. Big week of pro days around the country. Headline today by Texas Tech's David Bailey. Look at him out there. He's a projected top pick in this year's draft. And not only just a top pick, like Field Yates' latest mock has him going second overall to the Jets. So he's in the top 5. Jets could sure use a heavy dose of David Bailey. Their defense last season, not good. Terrible, in fact. 31st in sacks, 31st in touchdowns allowed, and last in interceptions because they had 0. Look at that on the screen. It's 0. That J-Mac doesn't like to see that.
That pains me.
Jets became the first team ever without a single interception in a season. J-Mac will talk about that pain in moments with you. But Adam, what more can you tell us about the Jets' plan, what they want to do with that second pick in April?
Well, Laura, when you have 25 sacks in a season and you rank 31st in the NFL and you have 0 interceptions as the first NFL team ever to not intercept a pass in a season, you need to find a way to generate pressure and generate defensive turnovers. And the way to do that would be with one of these pass rushers, which is why many people think that David Bailey will be one of the options for the Jets at number 2, along with Arvell Reese, along with Ruben Maine, along with whoever they decide to go with at that particular spot. That seems to be one of the strengths of this draft, the pass rushers in this draft. And those draft pass rushers, David Bailey and Arvell Reese, might be 2 of the top prospects in this draft. So it's no stretch at all to think that the Jets could be going pass rusher at number 2. David Bailey would be a prime prospect.
And I love the fact that he's saying that. And he's right, absolutely right. Edge rusher. When you look at David Bailey, he, to me, as you go to the draft, when you talk about just a pure pass rusher and somebody that can get after the quarterback, that first step, coming with the spin move, getting there, you look at what they've had. T'Vondre Sweat now bringing him over on the inside. Harrison Phillips on the inside. If you get a guy like Bailey coming off the edge, forcing the quarterback to step up in the pocket, that speed rush or speed to power is going to impact them. When you can't get pressure on the quarterback, then you don't get those tips and overthrows that DBs love to get, where you don't have to work as hard to be able to intercept the ball. You can rely on the speed guys and that rush in front of you.
Then why would he pay you so much?
Why are we paying? Because I'm going to catch the ball, too.
Oh, okay.
Like, you got to catch it, too, Mike T. Just pay all of us. That's how you end up with a good team. But to me, Bailey is the guy that can come over and right away have a huge impact. There obviously are great qualities with the other guys when we talk about Ruben Bain, we talk about Arvell Reese. I think Bailey for the Jets, if you're saying, hey, we just want to get a guy, plug him in on the edge and just let him go, he would be the guy at 2. But I think Arvell Reese brings a little bit more of that versatility to move around.
We saw some of the video of David Bailey at the Pro Day. We can show you more of that again. But Mike T, if you're a team like the Jets or maybe these other teams that are picking early, interested in a player like this, what are you hoping to glean from his Pro Day? What do you still need to see?
Well, one thing that we know about Arvell Reese is his versatility. He's played on the ball. He's played off the ball. What we want to see with David Bailey is, can he go backwards? And J-Mac, you know this from playing for Coach Belichick. There are a number of coaches that want to have versatility in their front 7. We know that Arvell Reese can do it. There's no reason to think that David Bailey can't, looking at his athleticism and his explosion, but certainly at a pro day or a private workout, coaches will put him through different drills to see if he can be a zone dropper. He's not going to have to be an elite man-to-man, but can he, drop in a zone? Not all the time, but just some of the time. So that could be a tiebreaker between Bailey and Reese, 2 outstanding players.
You mentioned the versatility for Reese. Versatility even at the linebacker position alone. He's got 457 career snaps at inside linebacker, 433 outside. I think that versatility, you mentioned it yesterday, that's going to go a long way when teams decide maybe to draft Reese. All right, so Field Yates has David Bailey going second to the Jets. He also has 2 other edge rushers in the top 10. It's a good class for edge rushers, especially at the top. We know what they can do, but are there any concerns? Let's go there, okay? We know they're top players, but what do you have to look out for? We start again with Bailey, who led the FBS last season in pressure rate and co-led in sacks, but his run stop rate is the concern, ranking 186 in FBS. Arvell Reese ranked 5th in the Big Ten in tackle rate last season, but experience is the question here. Only about half of his snaps last year were as an edge rusher. And Reuben Bain Jr., he led the FBS in pressures as an edge, but will reach be a worry? It's those arms again. His arm measurement at the combine would be the shortest by a first-round defensive lineman since 2003. Earlier this week, Bain was asked about if that would be an issue.
Like Mike Tyson, he wasn't the most tallest. He wasn't the tallest guy, or wasn't the longest limb guy. But when you felt him, you felt him. And you wish you kept your distance.
All right. That was a short segment talking about short arms. Either way, listen, by the way, these guys are going to go early in the draft. We're just trying to nitpick a little bit in the way that teams would. We see some of the deficiencies of these dudes. They're really good players, but how big of a deal are some of these things as you go through the top defensive guys, especially the edge rushers in this draft?
Yeah, Laura, certainly it's going to be a tiebreaker, and a lot's been made about Reuben Bain's arm length, reportedly sub 31 inches. Ideally, they're 33 inches or longer, but when you have his sort of production, which was really remarkable this year, when he had over 30 quarterback pressures at a high level, I'm not betting against that. I'm going to watch the film. Ideally, his arms would be a little bit longer, but to me, I still think he goes in the top 10. Go back to Dwight Freeney. He was drafted by Hall of Fame GM Bill Polian, had a great career, even though he was much shorter than ideal from a pass rush standpoint. So, again, as you said, Laura, we're nitpicking. I think at the end of the day, they're all going to be productive pros. They're all going to go in the top 10.
Yeah, and I look at Bailey, too. You talk about the run stopping. The one thing is that he plays with a high motor, and he has that effort. I think some of those skill sets and some of those techniques and nuances, you can teach him at the next level as long as he's willing to get dirty and get in there. And you've seen that from him in college. Arvell Reese is a guy that when I watch him, I get fired up. Matt Patricia was a defensive coordinator at Ohio State. Matty P was also in New England. He had a guy by the name of Jamie Collins as a linebacker who they would line up all over the field. He would be off the ball backer, but then he would be on the edge in a third down and long situation or second down and long. To me, what you can do with him within your defense, you could have one personnel out there, and from snap to snap, he could be lined up at a different spot that best suits his skill set or whatever the play call is. So I think Arvell Reese, he has to go to the right coordinator who's going to know how to use him, put him off the ball and blitz him, put him on the edge, and he can still defend the run and do all of those special things. So he's the guy that I watch and I go, man, the amount of things that you can do with him when you're sitting there and trying to design defense is just phenomenal.
Yeah, and Adam, it's not even just as J-Mac's bringing up these coordinators that could potentially be attracted to Arvell Reese or maybe even some of these other guys. There's a lot of defensive-minded coaches, even new head coaches at some of these teams will be picking early.
Well, there's no question about that, Laura. But again, here's the other thing that's very interesting about the pass rushers at the top of the draft. We've already seen 5 pass rushers in the last year or so crack the $40 million a year threshold. We've seen already Micah Parsons, Aiden Hutchinson, TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, Danielle Hunter. They're all over $40 million a year. So when we talk about teams drafting a quarterback and having the advantages of having a quarterback on a rookie contract, there's something to be said for drafting a pass rusher, a great pass rusher, and having him on a rookie contract. Similarly, as a quarterback on the defensive side of the football, there's value in drafting a pass rusher. Now, of course, the most important thing is that it's an effective, productive, great football player, especially with a premium pick. But the side benefit to getting a elite pass rusher up high is that the prices of some of those players have skyrocketed in recent times. And there's great value in that if you can hit on that player as well.
Yeah, it's a good point. You got to pay your pass rushers. You got to pay your quarterbacks. So if you can get them early, get them cheap right now, that could pay off. I love it, Adam. And new on NFL Live, sticking with pro days, by the way. Current Chiefs and former Texas Tech quarterback Patrick Mahomes, he was on hand at his alma mater's pro day today. Cool to see him show up there with the guys. He was mingling with everybody. And this, after yesterday, he posted that video throwing passes for the first time since the knee injury in December. You'll see that video. We'll talk about the Chiefs. That's coming your way this hour. Also, as we're just getting started here on NFL Live, the NFL annual league meetings kick off next week in Phoenix, Arizona. Good camera work there. Wow. Owners, coaches, general managers will meet to discuss league business, rules changes, future initiatives. That's Shadid on the camera, by the way. Adam Schefter back here. Adam, we'll be out there. I'm excited to be with you guys. And what are some key items on the agenda for next week? Let's start with the tush push.
Well, Laura, for all the things that are going to be discussed next week, the one thing that won't be discussed is the tush push, which was one of the headline conversations at the owners' meetings last year. But it's not on the agenda for this year's meeting. The tush push will be back in 2026. Again, no push to get a proposal to have it banned, and so it will be back next season. And we are expected to get confirmation that the Super Bowl 63 will be held in Las Vegas. The league will return there to Allegiant Stadium. It is expected to be formalized next week. The league was told about it yesterday, the competition committee, and essentially the Super Bowl will be going from LA to Atlanta to Las Vegas, Super Bowl 63. And there will be a looming issue that threatens to be disruptive to the season. That is the collective bargaining agreement for the officials. Talks between the NFL and the NFL Referees Association have broken off. They're nowhere right now. Now, again, the CBA doesn't expire till the end of May. But right now, the talks are in a bad spot. One source described it as dire, and there's still a long way to go before we get to replacement referees. But it sounds like we could start contemplating what it would be like to have replacement referees as we once did about a decade or so ago.
Yeah, that was rough. Let's hope that does not happen. We'll keep a close eye on that for sure. More from Adam coming your way in just a little bit. No push for the tush push. Did you hear Adam say that? It didn't get enough credit. Okay, thank you, Mike T. Thank you. Okay, that was a pop out of Mike T over there. All right, Jeremy, another item on the agenda stirring some conversation. Cleveland's proposal to trade draft picks up to 5 years in the future. What more can you tell us about that?
Yeah, Laura, the current rule is 3 years. Cleveland wants 5 years, and this is trade culture. We're looking at nearly 20 deals that were done around the new league year in the first 2 weeks. Teams love to trade. If you're Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen, you're probably not getting traded. Most players otherwise are expendable right now because teams have more comfortability making deals. So Cleveland wants to expand the picks where you can do it 5 years out. The teams that are really organized and love to trade are going to have an advantage because they're going to work years ahead. Yeah, and I think it has some momentum.
I mean, that has big impact on the league if it ends up happening. So something to keep an eye on for sure next week. Adam, the Browns made some modifications to the language of Myles Garrett's contract yesterday. Any connection there with what Jeremy's talking about?
Well, a lot of people have asked that question, Laura, and a lot of people have seen that Myles Garrett's contract was modified and the option bonuses were pushed back from the 15th day of the league year, which is about right now, to the week before the start of the regular season. And there are teams around the league that have surmised that maybe that might make it easier one day to trade Myles Garrett. But the Browns have zero intention of moving on from Myles Garrett. They didn't do that to trade him. They're not thinking about trading him. Trading's not an option for them right now. So I know a lot of people have said that, but the Cleveland Browns have said just the opposite. They are not looking and are not interested in dealing Myles Garrett.
And people reading the tea leaves there thinking, my goodness, could Myles Garrett be available? They're saying he's not. All right, let's continue to talk about pro days, as it's definitely pro day season. Ty Simpson taking the field yesterday during Alabama's pro day, projected by many as the second quarterback off the board in next month's draft. After his workout, he talked to Field Yates, talking about what separates him from the rest of the QBs in this class.
I think, one, my IQ and the command at the line of scrimmage. You look at my tape, I'm always in the line doing something with our checks or getting us in the right place. So I feel like that, that sets me apart from a lot of other people. Two, I think people don't, give me enough credit for my athletic ability. On the boot, on runs, getting away from the pocket. I feel like that's a huge part of my game and something that, quarterbacks have to do during, playing in the NFL. And then, the third thing is my arm. I feel like I can make any throw on the field, whether it's on time or having to scramble and throw it down the field like I showed out in pro day. Just something that, I feel like that I showed out in the pro day and, made some throws.
I mean, as he's talking, you're seeing the video. It looks good. Adam, what are you hearing about how teams view Ty Simpson?
Well, he had a great pro day, but a lot of players have great pro days.
Right.
And I think he's regarded as the universal second quarterback in this draft behind Fernando Mendoza, except in the eyes of Dan. But everybody else, I believe, thinks that Ty Simpson is the second-rated quarterback in this particular draft. And I think a lot of people believe that he's got a real good chance to go somewhere in the first round. Where it gets interesting is trying to figure out exactly where he's going to go. He's going to meet Friday and have a private workout with the New York Jets. Would they go ahead and take him at number 16? Is that possible? Is there a team there in the 20s like Cleveland at 24, Miami at 30 that would consider taking Ty Simpson? Is there a team that would trade back into the first round the way the Giants did last year with Jackson Dart? That will be one of the central focal storylines the night of the draft, is whether or not Ty Simpson does make it into the first round. A lot of people think he will, but it's harder to identify the spot right now where they think he'll wind up going.
Yeah, Adam Simpson is expecting to go into the first round. He's looking at that range of anywhere from 10 to 32. Probably not a top 10 pick at this stage unless it gets crazy, but there are just too many teams that need one. Adam mentioned the Jets, Browns, others. Arizona Cardinals, too. They're interesting to me. They come up a lot when I ask people around the league about Simpson because they have the third pick. They could go with David Bailey from Texas Tech or go defense and then try to trade back in. That Jackson Dart trade that Adam mentioned last year is a good template for some of these teams. If you don't look at Ty Simpson as a top 10 pick, but you want to get him late in the first, if he slides that far, you can take your pick early, and then you can make a deal to try to get in there.
And that's why Ty Simpson to me is so intriguing when it comes Thursday night of draft night, because at 16, you could see the Jets potentially saying, hey, we really like this quarterback. Why not get him right there at 16, knowing we have Geno Smith, where he can sit behind him for a year or two, and we can continue to groom him. But at the same time, if you're the New York Jets and at the number 2 pick, say you go Arvell Reese or Bailey out of Texas Tech, at 16, you can go to one of these wide receivers and really get another weapon on the other side of Garrett Wilson and say, you know what, we're not going to go quarterback this year in the first round because we're going to continue to build our team and continue to grow it. So when we do get that quarterback, he's prepared. And then you start to wonder, all right, where does Simpson go? Adam didn't mention Pittsburgh. Maybe Pittsburgh is interested, even if Rodgers comes back or not. Or I think potentially, like you said, one of those teams trading back in. So where he goes, I feel like on draft night, we're going to be talking about that all night long of where he potentially can go.
It's fascinating. I mean, at 16, you think maybe Mekhi Lemon's still there. Yep. Maybe somebody's already taken Carnell Tate. Could be there. And the other thing, too, about all this is that the Jets have so much draft capital in the 2027 draft as well. Maybe if they don't hit on a quarterback this year, they could try again. I know Jets fans are like, how many quarterbacks we're going to draft? But there's a reality there. Now, Simpson's scheduled for this private workout tomorrow with the Jets. They currently have that 2nd and 16th overall pick. What's that process like, Mike, for the Jets, and what it will be like? We talked earlier, too, the reporting from Rich Cimini that they're having a dinner tonight with all the coaches. But then what do they really want to see in the private workout?
Yeah, so, Laura, it starts tonight. You want to get a good feel for him, his leadership, his intangibles. I expect that'll go great by all counts. And then tomorrow, you want to be able to see him drive the ball down the field. He is short by NFL standards. He's under 6'2", and you want to see that he has the requisite arm strength to play in the Northeast. So you play games, November, December in Buffalo against the villainous Patriots in New England. Those are games you have to win as well. So his arm strength is going to be really important, and that's what Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji are going to want to see tomorrow.
Yeah, Simpson completed, you talk about arm strength, only 37% of his throws last year that went 20 yards downfield. Now, some of it, too, latter part of the season, he was injured. He was dealing with a lot, especially in his back, his ribs, all those things. But it's worth noting when you think about arm strength. Go ahead, Jamie.
And also, when you talk about those private workouts, just talking to different head coaches last year, I remember having a conversation with Sean Payton, and he said when Bo Nix came up that night before, they gave him so much information and so much offense to come back and prepare and learn the next day. Didn't give it to him until like 5 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
He came back the next day and he knew all of it. So I think to your point, that driving the football and then also the knowledge part of the game, how do you learn? When we give you this information, can you process it in a single day? Because a lot of times in the NFL, you get to the sideline, it's not waiting till halftime, it's getting to the sideline, making those adjustments and being able to go back out there and execute.
Yeah, Ty will be impressive there. I think that's a strength of his for sure, as he even noted in the interview with Field. All right, it's MLB. Okay, the Eagles have enough going on with the A.J. Brown trade talk, which hasn't necessarily quieted down. There just hasn't been a whole lot of action. We're going to get to that in just a little bit. Here's what else they've been up to. Philly added Reek Woolen off his Super Bowl win. Also added depth to their wideout room with Hollywood Brown. Maybe a little indicator there, I don't know. Another year, though, and another offensive coordinator, Sean Mannion, 5th in 6 seasons under Nick Sirianni. Some of it's been that those guys have moved on to bigger and better things, as in head coaches, but still. Adam, what are the Eagles' recent moves, though? Tell us about a potential A.J. Brown trade.
Well, not a lot, Laura. Look, they signed Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore and A.J. Brown are close friends from college, so you could interpret that as the fact that maybe they want to make A.J. Brown happy and keep him there by signing Elijah Moore. Some people say, oh, they signed Elijah Moore and Hollywood Brown. Maybe those are potential replacements as it pertains to A.J. Brown. The fact of the matter is we're in late March, And it doesn't look like anything's going to happen with A.J. Brown for a little while, if it even happens at all. The Eagles have listened to teams, but they have been steadfast in saying all along that they were not looking to trade him and would only trade him unless they got an offer they couldn't refuse. That has not transpired so far. Plus, the thing to remember is that it would be easier to trade A.J. Brown after June 1st due to the salary cap acceleration. So if they were going to trade him, that would be the time to do it. The question is, New England's been the one team that's out there that people have linked up and connected to A.J. Brown. Is New England going to bring back Steph Diggs? Is New England going to use a high pick on a wide receiver? Is New England going to find another receiver between now and June 1st? We don't know how that's going to work out yet, so it's too early to say that he's going to wind up in New England. If he were to be traded, that would be the most likely destination, but there's nothing agreed to, there's nothing in place, and there's still a lot of time between now and June 1st for events to transpire.
Interesting.
Yeah, and Laura, outside of the New England Patriots, there aren't a lot of known suitors right now. The LA Rams looked into it, kicked the tires, ultimately decided to keep Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua and go that route. Kansas City Chiefs never really looked into this. For the most part, they're not going to do that trade. So it kind of feels like a standoff with New England. The next pivot point could be the NFL draft, because if you're New England, you might want to take a high pick in the draft, knowing that it's a deep receiver class. If Philadelphia wants to wait until June 2nd, where they can save money in the cap to do the trade, New England might have moved on by then. So something has to give. And also, if you're Philadelphia, you're trying to work a couple angles. If you trade A.J. Brown, you might do a deal to get a pass rusher like a Jonathan Bernard from Minnesota. So they have multiple balls in the air they're trying to figure out right now.
Okay, so the Patriots, the team you know well, are the kind of the main team here, as Adam alluded to. Let's talk about the fit there, and then also just what you think in general the Eagles should do with A.J. Brown here.
I think A.J. Brown, he's the type of receiver where he's going to fit wherever. He's a number one type of guy that can align on the outside. They signed Romeo Doubs. You have him, you have Kayshon Boutte. You have guys that can complement A.J. Brown, allow him to get the football. I think the relationship with him and Mike Vrabel would be one that would, I think, accelerate this trade and make it come to fruition early on in that relationship and the process of him being able to go out there and execute. But I say all that to say, if I'm the Philadelphia Eagles, I'm not trading A.J. Brown.
Well, even with all the issues.
No, sometimes a toxic relationship, you go through your ups and downs, but you got to stay the course. As I look at this for Philly, you signed a guy like Reek Woolen when you needed a cornerback spot opposite of Quinyon Mitchell. You're filling some gaps. Yes, you lost Nakobe Dean, but you still have Jahad Campbell, who will now get more reps. You need an edge rusher, but I'm not really trying to take away right now on the offensive side of the ball. You're bringing a new coordinator. Let's see what those vibes will bring throughout the course of the offseason. Adam mentioned after June 1st, you're going to have April when the offseason starts. You're going to have OTAs and all of those things with Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, Sean Mannion now at the helm. Let's see how that looks. Now we still have drama in the offseason. Now we can revisit it.
Yeah, but then it's too late, right? Like, kind of. I hear you. Here's the thing. Like, you don't want to let go of a receiver like A.J. Brown. It just felt like at many times it was so untenable with that offense and everything that was coming out. Maybe it was Kevin Patullo's fault, you know? Maybe Sean Mannion's going to come in and fix it all.
But like, what do you do if A.J. Brown wants out? Because that's sort of the issue right now. It's lingering. Like, at the very least, he would welcome a trade. He hasn't really forced the issue as far as a trade request, but it's sort of known that, like, he's kind of bummed that this hasn't worked out yet. He and Jalen Hurts seem to be in an okay place, but it's been up and down. We've all seen that every week. I mean, A.J. Brown's meltdowns late in the year on the sideline were like the 8th worst thing that happened in the Eagles season. You know, so it was just week to week. It was an issue. So it still feels like both parties know that it's best to move on. We'll see. Maybe it's salvageable.
It's so complicated, though, because you got a player of that caliber. You're not just giving him away to somebody. You got to have the right trade partner. It sounds like the Patriots still in the mix, just may take a little bit. Hey, the Chiefs made waves yesterday. They released a short video of Patrick Mahomes. This is it. We're going to play it over and over again because why not? Look at him. He's throwing the football for the first time since he tore the ACL in his left knee back in December. Looks good. I realize he's just bopping around out there on the practice field. But, Jeremy, what more can you tell us about how Mahomes' rehab is going and maybe a little picture into the timeline here?
Yeah, so he's 3 months in, Laura. I'm told he's been a fixture in Kansas City's building. He's been there every day just getting after it, as he's known to do. This is an ACL and an LCL recovery, so it's going to take some time. So throwing is just an early step. He's going to get to running, moving around more, cutting on that thing, and try to move on. He still hopes to play week 1, and nobody in Kansas City or the Chiefs organization is putting that against him. They're never going to doubt Patrick Mahomes. But they got Justin Fields knowing that he's good insurance. If he has to play 1 game, 4 games, whatever it is, he started a lot of games in the NFL, played a lot of football, so they feel good about that. They're just simply not going to rush Mahomes, despite how hard he's going to work to beat the timeline.
And I look at the offseason moves, bringing Eric Bieniemy back, and he's going to bring, I think, a little bit more physicality to this offense, and then signing Kenneth Walker. I think that allows Patrick Mahomes to, hey, take your time. We'll have Justin Fields out there. We'll be able to run the football and do some of that quarterback, running back, run game, and allow him that time to get fully healthy before he comes back out there on the football field. Because I think, Jeremy, to your point, even once he's out there, it's going to take time for Mahomes to be the Mahomes that we've come to see and love, with him being able to rush and do all type of things out of the pocket and off platform. It's going to take a little while. So having a running back that you can depend on is going to go a long way.
We've said this number a few times, but I mean, Patrick Mahomes is leading the team in rush yards, which is just crazy when you think about it. But that is part of his game. He's got to trust that again and get back to it. By the way, Chiefs runners, as I'm making this point, could not break one open last year at all. Just one 20-yard rush all season. Kenneth Walker, by the way, had 10. Okay, so you're right. Bieniemy's influence plus Kenneth Walker joining the team, that helps Mahomes for sure. Coming up, the Miami Dolphins will under 25,000 players, in NFL history. Only 240 have crossed the goal line to stand alone on football's most hallowed ground, the end zone, scoring a touchdown in the Super Bowl. Now, over the next year, the year of the Super Bowl at ESPN, we're telling the stories of these players and the moment they achieved immortality on football's biggest stage. This week, Hall of Famer Larry Csonka reflects on how scoring a touchdown in the Super Bowl wasn't simply one of his greatest individual achievements, but one he shares with the people who helped him along the way.
My name is Larry Csonka. I played fullback for the Miami Dolphins, and I scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl.
About ready to kick off Super Bowl VIII, and we're glad you're with us.
But let me tell you something about crossing the goal line in the Super Bowl. It's not just a single accomplishment. It's a group effort.
Here are the interior linemen.
I think one of the finest moments in the history of participating in the Super Bowl was being in a huddle and looking over and seeing my offensive linemen all mouthing, "Follow me." That's when you know that you've got something special.
Csonka. There goes Csonka. What tremendous power. He's within 2 yards of a first down.
But the offensive line for Miami is doing just about what they want to.
You've got 3 offensive linemen up there that average around 255 to 260 pounds, and they're all league. You can afford to be a little brazen as a fullback.
2nd and goal at the 2.
There was a mix-up in the huddle. Let's put it that way. We got half of one play and half of another, and I wasn't real sure what Bob was going to do. And when he turned around, he had a kind of puzzled look on his face. And when you have offensive linemen like I had, so I'm staring right at them because, you know, they're going to make it or break it.
Csonka. Touchdown.
You see that ball come up, and he's handing it to you, and you're seeing a small sliver of daylight right there that you know you can stick. There isn't any better feeling in the world. Outside of perhaps a child being born, that's got to be a crowning moment of your life.
There's no way to get him down with an arm. 20 carries, 93 yards for Csonka.
You know, I look like the hero, but the real hero is the guy that got you past that defensive lineman. I think this occurred to me later, not perhaps the moment that I walked into the end zone, but reliving that moment, you think about all the things that happened through the course of your career from the time you started playing in junior high or perhaps in grade school to obtain those goals and slowly reach different levels of success. Then to get to the Super Bowl and cross the goal line. And you flash back to when you were a kid, when you look up and see your mother sitting up in the stands, and she was watching you when you were 10 years old at the Pee Wee football. It's not just a single accomplishment. It's a group effort. People that influence your life throughout your life all play a part in whether you reach that final moment or not.
our lead up to the Super Bowl. And as for Zonka's former team, there's been a lot going on this year in Miami. The Dolphins went 7-10 last season, but that's after starting 2-7, firing GM Chris Greer in October. When the season was done, it was Mike McDaniel's turn to go. The Dolphins just could not beat winning teams under McDaniel, going 4-17. So they hired Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley. Miami then parted ways with Tua Tagovailoa, taking on a record $99 million dead money charge. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Minkah Fitzpatrick are also gone, but they did sign Malik Willis. So, Jeremy, what do you know about how Malik Willis is dealing with all the changes in Miami? Because he might have come in there thinking at least he had Jalen Waddle, and now he doesn't.
Right. Well, the focus for Malik Willis is to learn this offense, and I'm told he's shown a real eagerness to do just that. As soon as he got to town for his free agent press conference, signing his 3-year deal, he met with Bobby Slowick, his offensive coordinator. He met with Kevin Patullo, his pass game coordinator, and got to work on some of the concepts and ideas. I was told he was intrigued by Patullo's past work with Jalen Hurts because Willis is more of a dual threat running quarterback, similar to Jalen Hurts. So, and of course, the West Coast system, they're going to give him some quick, easy throws, some timing, rhythm passes, and so he ran some of that with Matt LaFleur. But this is a quarterback where when I talk to coaches around the league, they say immense talent, but the question is, can he run a system over 17 games? Can you run your whole playbook with him? That's sort of been the concern. He's trying to bridge that gap by getting to work early with his coaches.
Yeah, I think Bobby Slowick is a big difference maker there, too. We saw what he did with C.J. Stroud early on in his career and the success that they had there. I think that was maybe a bigger deal than people gave credit for when it comes to Malik Willis going there. All right, we got more coming right here on NFL Live. Don't go anywhere.